Let me make sure I record or I'd have people coming after me. Okay, can you guys see the screen?
Yep. Yep.
Perfect. Let me just make it bigger. Okay. The first thing I want to talk about is belief. I feel like that's the biggest thing that new coaches especially and veteran coaches struggle with is having belief in yourself as a coach, but also having belief in the programs or products. When you're a brand new coach and maybe you didn't do a program before or you haven't tried any Beachbody things yet, it's kind of hard for you to feel like you have 110% belief. And then add on top of that if you don't have confidence in yourself. But it's really important to understand that no matter what, you can find belief in yourself if you remain consistent. And when you are consistent, you become more competent. So when you continue to do something, when you continue to post about what you're doing over and over, you become better at it. You see what works, you see what doesn't work. And then you gain more confidence from it because over time, what will happen is people start to come to you more often. So it's the same thing with inviting. You have to do it consistently over and over to be able to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And everything, we say today, it works differently for everyone. So I don't want you guys to think this is the end-all be-all. But I hope that this helps you guys with all your conversations and building confidence in yourself. Okay, so this is something I wanted to talk about because this is something I did in the beginning. I used call-outs strictly for my invites. I wasn't doing hardly any personal messaging or anything like that. I was doing all call-outs. So what I mean by that is I was posting on my page about invitations to my next group. They weren't always the best invitations, but I somehow squeaked by a few months with Success Club, but I didn't have somebody there to mentor me in the beginning. So I was making awful posts, and it was just not good. So I don't want you to think that call-outs are your only way to invite. You want to make sure that you understand there's other ways for you to invite. But those call-outs are really important for opening the door to the actual invitation to someone. So not only are the call-outs important, but you want to make sure that you are posting consistently to your page, because if you just post here and there, and maybe it's not a whole lot about what you're doing with your health and fitness, and then all of a sudden you post a call-out to a 30-day group, people might be a little confused. And they might think, it's I see her posting about this group, but there's really nothing else. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And I always tell people, when you're posting on your social media, you kind of want it to be like a book instead of a magazine. So, when you're flipping through a magazine, you could have something completely different on one page to the other. But with a book, it flows really well. So you want to make sure that your posts are flowing together. So the open door invite from a call out, you want to make sure that you're keeping track of the people who are liking and commenting on those posts. And you want to reach out to them. And I'll show you how to do that here in just a second. So some of the Facebook rules, and you may or may not already know some of these, but you want to try to post 2 to 5 times a day. Personally, I think as long as your posts are quality posts and you're not just posting to post, then 2 is fine. Even 1 a day, if it's a really good post. I think it has to do more with quality than quantity. And like that says, post with purpose. You want to make sure every post counts and you're not just posting a selfie. You want to say something with it that might resonate with someone else. And then I say power hour the crap out of your posts. That basically just means, we have a power hour as coaches. So during that power hour, we're inviting, we are adding friends on Facebook, we're sending out words of encouragement to people. And you can do that from your posts. If you just go back through your posts and write down everybody who has liked or commented on any of your stuff, then you have enough people to add to Facebook, if they're not already your friend, to message, to reach out to just send a word of encouragement, or just start interacting on their posts. Also, we have the 80-20 rule. So that means 80% of your posts should be pretty much non-Beachbody related. Now, I say lifestyle should be 80%. That's really, it's hard because Beachbody is a part of our lifestyle usually, but it's more of what you're doing in your everyday life that could somehow weave Beachbody in without talking about Beachbody. So those are those posts. And then 20% of those posts should be talking about Beachbody, your challenge groups, and invites to challenge groups, and also the coaching opportunity. You want to try to find 5 things that define you and post about those, because you really want to target your market. We won't go too far into social media today, but we're going to talk about that in the upcoming team calls. But you really want to make sure that you are speaking to your person who you would want in your challenge groups or want as a coach on your team. Even if you think that your day is completely boring, I promise there's something funny in your day or something that you could post about or turn it into something. I always like to say be your own reality show, but also we want to make sure it's a drama-free reality show. You always want to remain positive because people will remember that. If you are consistently posting positive posts, you'll be shocked at how many people in 3-4 months will send you a message that says, thank you so much for your post. They really lift me up, and I look forward to seeing them. Another thing is to create scroll-stopping pictures. I'm going to show you some examples of those. And be you. Anything I show you guys today, anything we talk about, I don't want you to ever feel like you have to do that exactly. We're just giving you outlines of stuff that should help. And I love this little quote. It's from the book Start by John Acuff, I think is who it is. But it's the book Start, and he says, this too shall post. So, you know how you usually say this too shall pass. If you come into something that is hard for you, or, a difficult time, or maybe you skipped workouts, post about it, because people love that you're real. And if there's anything I've learned in this business is that people are so much more attracted to people who are honest, real, and raw than they are that person who's perfect. They just can't relate to that because it's not realistic. So for your challenge group call-out post, I'm just going to quickly go through these. So you definitely want to make it personal, and you want to post at prime times. I found for myself that Sunday nights and Monday nights work best. I would highly suggest not posting on Fridays and Saturdays. The reason for that is that people are usually busy on those days, and they're not checking in on Facebook as much. Unfortunately, it's kind of funny, but I feel like on Sunday nights and Mondays, Sunday is like that day that everybody feels bloated, like maybe they were eating all weekend and they're ready to get started with something. Same thing with Monday. And a lot of the times people are on their phones at work too. So sometimes people have really good call out posts on like a Wednesday afternoon. You just never know. You'll be able to find what works for you when you start posting more. Do not use stock images from Beachbody. You want to be you, and you want to promote yourself, not a product or one of the celebrity trainers. Now, the only exception to that would be like when we had Size release. It was really difficult to be able to promote that program without sharing a little bit of Shaun T, because people knew who he was. So those are a little bit different circumstances. But any other posts, you want to try to stay away from those. And I already talked about don't be a magazine and be a book. And then when you're writing your posts, like your copy is what we call it. So your actual wording, you want to make it 1 to 2 sentences per paragraph so that they can easily read it. I've noticed that some people get these huge paragraphs, and I've done it too, and it's so hard to read that you almost just don't even want to jump into it because it looks like a lot. And the way that Facebook breaks it up, they like cut it off and it says see more. Sometimes they won't even get to that point because it's not catching them enough. You want to have a hook in the beginning, so you want to draw their attention at the very beginning. And usually that can happen with some sort of question. So, did you eat too much over the holiday weekend? Are you feeling a little stuck right now? Those are some examples. I highly recommend that after you've posted your call out, that you're able to be around for about 30 minutes during and after, because when people see you immediately interacting, so say you say post below in the comments if you're interested, if they see you replying back pretty quickly, one, Facebook is going to show your post to more people because they see that it's interactive. But also the person who's interested is going to be like, oh, they're here. I can ask them a quick question about it. And you can start the conversation. Now, if you're doing this late on a Sunday night, what I'll usually do is start the conversation with as many people as I can. And then I'll just send them a message that says, hey, I'll get back to you in the morning. I check my email first thing in the morning. You can either have them email you, or you can do it on Facebook Messenger, whatever is best for you guys. And then the next morning, this is a little trick, comment again on the post. Hopefully you had some people comment while you were asleep or in the morning when they woke up, and just go and comment on it. What happens is it pops back into the news feed. We've been doing this with like old posts from like a year ago, and we're getting so much more engagement on those posts, and we didn't even mean to, because it instantly pops back into the news feed. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is in your wording, I don't want you to focus so much on pounds lost and inches lost. And the reason for that, I mean, I think it's great to talk about that, but don't just focus on that. You really want to talk about how you feel. If you're doing a call out post, if you have your before and after, because so many times, I don't know how many times I've done that, and the type of challenger that I attract ends up being someone who wants quick fixes. They're not happy with anything because they expect to lose whatever I said in the post. So we can't judge, everybody's different. So I don't ever want them to be feeling like they are guaranteed to lose this much weight because I posted about it. Now, I will still talk about that, but I put the main focus on how I feel and let the pictures do the talking. So these are some of my own examples of what not to do. These are posts from, was this last year? No, 2013. So this was when I was a coach for about a month, and these were not good. And you can see that by my interaction on those. So this was a little over a year and a half ago, and these are not good for several reasons. One, they are not personal at all. They don't feature me in any of them, and I don't even really talk about the importance of any of the programs because I didn't really know anything about them. I hadn't done the programs. So it was really hard for me to promote something I hadn't done anyway, but when I talk about stock images, these are examples. You don't want to do this because people are seeing these pictures floating around Facebook already from other coaches. You have to figure out how can you be different? How can you stand out to your followers and in your friends and family? Because if they keep seeing these same pictures being circulated, they're like, oh, it's a scam, they're all doing it. But if they see you, or maybe they see you doing the workouts, it's a lot different. So these are some examples of what to do. So I love the ones where you're featuring some of your challengers. If you've already had a challenge group, I think that's great. So, on the upper right one, I love that Sarah featured a few of her challengers and herself. And you can see that she got a lot of interaction from that. I love Danielle's creativity with the Santa hat and everything. I remember when we did that, we were ridiculous with but I love that. And then the one on the bottom was Sarah and the containers. I love that because it features the container system, but it also shows her before and after. So I really like that. And then the ones on the left, of course, we've got some before and afters of mine, but these are all, just examples. Like I said, what I really want you guys to do is follow the top coaches on our team, follow top coaches in the company, and see what they're posting. And it'll give you a really good idea of what you do and what maybe you shouldn't be doing. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about breadcrumbing. So breadcrumbing is basically dropping breadcrumbs that will eventually lead to you inviting someone to be in the group or inviting everybody by posting a call out. So a breadcrumb is something that does not mention a call out, doesn't mention a group. It's basically featuring the products that we have or using them, but not focusing just on the product. It's actually just us talking about something that we're doing, so that it kind of drops breadcrumbs along the way, so that when we do post the call out, they remember those posts that we made. So like the post that I made last night with all the containers, it was a pretty, I wouldn't say heartfelt, but it was a pretty real and raw post that I had wasted a lot of money on a meal plan. And I was mad at myself about it, and I'm going back to the containers. I didn't invite anybody to do it with me. I didn't place a link in there for people to buy it. All I did was talk about it. I just want people to see that and interact with it. So then when I do post my call out, they remember it, or they're following me because they saw that. Same thing with the 3-day refresh down there to the left. That was one I got a ton of interaction on, and I honestly did not mean to. I took that picture and had a ton of people interested in that program. So I actually had to create like a group before we went to Cancun. So then there's just some other examples. A perfect example of this would be, using your food containers, showing what you are. Okay, I just got a message that says someone needs to mute their mic. Sorry. But a perfect example of this is having a recipe and being able to show what fits in there, because so many people see the containers, they don't understand how much food really fits in there, or a recipe that you can make from the container. So I just shared a couple of those here. And then product of the product without being salesy. This is something you should be doing every single day. It's not only your accountability, but it shows people that you're consistent. So if they see you posting a video of you doing size every day, and even on your rest day, you're posting about how you're stretching or whatever it is, they know that you're staying consistent and you are staying consistent. It's your best accountability partner. Same thing with Shakeology. My biggest tip with Shakeology, and that's why I shared some of these, is none of these posts are inviting people to buy Shakeology. They're actually just talking about what it does to help them. So, being hungry before a wedding, I did on the bottom left. And, none of those videos are really inviting anybody. They are basically just saying, I did this today, and showing. That's another way to just drop the consistency to people and let them know what you're doing. Because then whenever you do post your call out, they remember that, and they remember how consistent you were, and they think, oh, well, then maybe I can be that consistent since they were. And I saw her posting about the Shakeology. I remember her saying she was going to the grocery store after church, and she didn't want to be hungry at the grocery store, so she drank her Shakeology. So I bet this would help me. So does anybody have any questions so far? We're going to have a Q&A at the end too, so.
By the way, your mic might be muted, so if you have a question, you would have to unmute yourself and then mute yourself again.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay, so results without a call out is another example of breadcrumbing. So these are going to be just showing a before and after, or some version of your before and after, without actually saying, and join my group. These are basically just showing people, look, this is what I've done. This is my story, or a part of it. And then later, when you decide to make a call out, they're going to remember this as well. Or at least, maybe somebody's looking at yours. I loved Melissa's that she added today. And it's not something that would be inviting someone to a group necessarily, but I bet a lot of people will probably contact her because of that. Same thing with all the other ones posted here. It's not all about, making a call out with every post you have. It's breadcrumbing and showing your results without asking for something in return and being proud of that. So this is a big tip. If you are getting, no matter what post that you post, as long as it's, somewhat health and fitness related, somebody who's liking or commenting on your post, make sure that you take their name down, or just immediately when you have a chance during your power hour. Remember when I said power hour the crap out of your post? Go to the post from the day before and send a message. Like, say you posted your Transformation Tuesday post or a before and after. Go to that post, and anybody who liked, send them a message and that says, of course, if it's not a Beachbody coach, and say, I just wanted to send you a quick thanks for supporting my post that I did yesterday with my before and after. And you could say, it was really difficult for me to share that, so seeing support really meant the world to me, and it helps me keep pushing forward on my journey, so thank you. And almost always you are going to have somebody who comments back, and they might say, I've been following your journey for months, and I'm so proud of you, or what are you doing? So at least it opens up the conversation. But also, don't be surprised if they don't say anything. You can't be mad about that. But just reaching out and saying thank you means a lot to them as well. If it's someone who liked your challenge group call out post, so this is different. This is if you post your challenge group call out. I think it's very important, even if they like it, to send them a message that says, hey, I saw that you're interested in my health and fitness group. What are your current goals? And again, they may or may not write back, but at least sending that opens up the conversation and the ball's in their court. Because if they liked your call out post, they were looking at it enough to be interested. So I don't think that's, any reason to not message them. And then, like I said, start keeping a list of anyone who likes and comments, and make a point to reach out to them. So this is really important. You want to make sure that you're working from a list. If you don't have a list, you don't have anything. And I've heard that a million times. When I first started my business, I tried to work my list off of Facebook. And I thought, well, I'll just keep track of anybody who I have messages with in my inbox on Facebook. And that's my list. And that's not true. You want to have a list before you even start posting, before you start inviting, because you want to have a bank of people that you have in mind to help. So when you're making your list, you could use the memory jogger that's in the Coach Online office. You want to be judgment-free. So don't prejudge anybody and say, oh, they don't have the time or money, I'm not putting them on my list. Just write down their name. You can even go through your Facebook friends list and start writing down names as well. If you've made posts in the past, go see who likes and comments on your posts and put their names down. And then what I want you to do is circle and highlight these particular people. Anyone who know, love, and trust you. Now, what I mean by that is someone who you already have a relationship with. This could be your family members, your coworkers, sorority sisters, teammates, anybody who really knows you well. You want to highlight and circle them. The next person that I want you to highlight and circle will be people who you would love to be on your team in the future. Like, if you think about your dream team and, at the point that you are right now, even if you're a brand new coach, you need to be envisioning, who would I want surrounding me on my team? And I did do that when I started. And it wasn't like I knew that specific person, but it was, what type of person do I want around me if I build this team really big? Because I'm going to. And it was that type of person that I started writing down the names of people who popped into my head when I had those characteristics written down of the person I wanted on my team. So those are going to be people who maybe you want them to go through a challenge group before you just reach out and invite them to coach. And that's the way that I did it. And I feel like that helps too. And then, of course, those in need. Those in need, that list for me is more of people who have maybe reached out to me or told me in the past they were depressed about their weight, or they have struggles with their weight, or someone who's publicly posted on social media, I need to lose weight, what can I do? And they've actually asked publicly for advice, because those are people who need your help. So just start making a list of those people, and I want you to highlight and circle them. The reason why I have these in order this way is the people who know, love, and trust you are the first people that you want to invite, especially as a new coach, because they are the people who are more than likely going to be the ones that say yes. Now, some of you might be like, those are the last people I want to invite, because I'm not confident in this and I don't want them to make fun of my journey and what I'm doing. But you'll never know unless you ask them, and ask them to support you. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So if it's someone you know, love, and trust, just reach out to them and from your list and say, you might have seen me posting about my online health and fitness coaching business that I'm really excited about. And I was wondering if I could count on you to help me out. Basically, you would start a fitness program tailored for you and a daily superfood shake that I've also been drinking, and you should insert your story. And if you don't have one, you could share what you're getting ready to start. I would be really grateful if you would provide an honest testimonial for me. I'm not asking you to commit to anything long term. What do you think? Can I count on you to support me, or can I count on you to help me out? And you would reword that however it fits to you. But I guarantee if you go to those who are closest to you, especially family members, and say, hey, can you help me out? I would really love to have a testimonial for my new health and fitness business. And, the best way to do this is phone, if you can, if you feel comfortable with that. If you don't, text message would be great. More than likely, they're going to say yes. And then also someone who is maybe an outgoing friend. So, the know, love, and trust list for me would be best friends that really I would feel comfortable with doing that. The outgoing friend who might also want to get fit with you is someone you want to reach out to too. So someone you don't, necessarily would consider your best friend, but in your circle and your warm market. So you could say, I know this seems crazy, but I was putting some things on paper and was getting really excited about my next health and fitness challenge I'm hosting. I started writing down people who I thought would be amazing challengers, and your name popped right into my head first. I know, weird. But not really, because you could mention why you think this would be good for them. I would love to have you by my side supporting one another and getting healthy and fit. Could I count on you to provide an unbiased testimonial and participate in my group? Again, more than likely, they're going to say yes. So I love starting with those types of people because they more than likely will give you a testimonial and an honest testimonial. Mine were my parents. They were my first people that I invited. Who were your first, Jason?
You.
I don't count.
People I work with. Yeah.
So like I said, those are the people, coworkers, sorority sisters, teammates, neighbors, people that you know well enough to invite first. That's who you want to start with. Yeah, so yours was pretty much your whole office, I would say.
Yeah.
And for me too, a lot of people in my office saw what I was doing. So it was smart for me to go ahead and ask them instead of just doing it and bringing my containers into work and then them being like, what is that? And then coming in later and being like, oh, I bought the 21-day fix because you were doing it. And they had no idea you were a coach. You don't want that to happen. And then inviting your dream challenger. So this is going to be so a dream challenger is usually someone who might already be healthy and fit. So you could always say, hey, I just saw you posted a picture of yourself at the gym after your Tabata workout. That's so awesome. You always inspire me with your post-workout selfies. What do you usually do and you could ask anything about what they've been posting about and just wait for them to respond. So just starting the conversation to get it going. And I do that a lot with people now because I'm reaching out to people a lot more. So if somebody is like, say, a cycle instructor, I'll say, hey, I just saw you hosted a class at LAC. How often have you been doing that? I would love to come to a class. Which class do you think I should come to? Just opening up the conversation. And then once they respond, usually they say, thank you so much. I love that you've been watching me or you're motivated by my posts. And you can always say, you're welcome. I've always respected you because this could be someone who like we were saying. So why do you think that they would be a good challenger? Maybe you've always respected them for their positivity and their encouragement. Maybe you played softball with them in the past and they were an amazing teammate. You can insert whatever makes you feel like they would be really good at this. So you can use any of those. And then you can also use an indirect way of inviting. And I really like using this, and Jason has used this a lot in the past, but it's a way of basically asking if they know anybody who would be interested. But what ends up happening is they usually at the very end say, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm interested in it. So it kind of takes the pressure off of you in a way because you're not really asking them. You're asking if they know anybody who would be interested. So that's an easy way of doing that indirectly and taking the weight off your shoulders a little bit.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, so it helps a lot. And then, of course, inviting someone in need. Now, if you're inviting someone in need, I highly recommend that you have started forming some sort of relationship with them before you just reach out to them randomly. I think that this is only good if it's someone who maybe you had a friend who tagged you in their post. I think that's okay. But if it's someone you have no idea who they are, I think I would be a little caught off guard if somebody sent me a message. But then again, they're posting about needing help. So you could definitely reach out to them if you want to. It's up to you. We could say, I just saw your post about whatever it was, and I saw that you were asking for help. I just wanted to reach out to you. And you could insert your story, and I found that I would love to be able to help you. What are your health and fitness goals? Now, that might be a little too much. I think I would break that up a little bit, but that can kind of give you a general idea of the things that you could send. It's probably really dark. That's okay. So how do you start a conversation? If it's someone, now this is going to be, we just talked about starting the invite process with people on your list. Now this is going to be starting a conversation with people on your list who don't really fall into those categories where you highlighted and circled. These are going to be the other people. So these are most likely going to be people on your Facebook. If it's someone who you haven't spoken to in a while, all you need to do is say, how are you? Just to open up the conversation. If it's someone you don't really know very well, go to their timeline. And what I usually do is interact on their posts and comment if I feel like there's something worth commenting about. And once they have started seeing my posts, if I notice they comment or like my things, it's almost like the universal sign that says, okay, we're kind of friends. We kind of know each other now. And if I send them a message, it's not going to be weird. So just go to their page and find something to interact on. And if you go to their page and you don't connect with anything, then it's probably someone you don't want to talk to. And I'm sure that will happen more often than not. There's been people who've added me on Facebook, and I'll go to their page and I'm like, ugh, lots of middle fingers and cuss words. Probably not someone I want to invite to a challenge group. So just use your own judgment. So just find something that you can talk about. Another great way to start a conversation is be involved in groups on Facebook. So find groups that you're interested in and start commenting on people's posts, like, thank you for sharing that, or I love that you shared this, blah, blah, blah. And what's going to happen is they will start coming to your page and looking at your info, and maybe they'll add you, or maybe you can add them from that group if you really wanted to. What's really cool is that if you are a mutual group member, so if you're in the same group as this person and you send a message, it immediately goes to their inbox now. That didn't used to happen with Facebook. So we were in this big dental hygiene group. If I would have messaged any of those people before, it would go to their other box if I wasn't friends with them. But now Facebook changed that. If you're in the same group with someone, you can send a message and it's going to go to their inbox. So that's pretty cool to add that to your tools. So you want to make sure that you're opening doors. And what I mean by this is when you're having the conversation and you feel like, okay, this is kind of weird, it's not going anywhere, like maybe this is someone who came from a group that you don't really know, or maybe it's someone you haven't talked to in a while and you're like, okay, maybe the conversation is going to go stale. Use form. So family questions. Everyone loves talking about their family. Ask about their dogs. Ask about anything family related. When you go to their page, you're usually going to see something family related if they have kids. That's always something that you can bring up. Occupation is almost always going to be listed on their Facebook. So you could say, I just did this yesterday actually. I saw someone who was a nutritionist, and I said, oh, I saw you're a nutritionist. Do you coach people? So it opened up the conversation, and now we're going back and forth. Recreation would just be, hobbies. If they, are doing anything, like what do you like to do for fun? Or I just saw that you went on a trip to Florida. What part of Florida did you go to? And just opening that up without being weird. And then message is sharing your story and your message. So once you have felt like you've kind of asked questions back and forth, the most important thing that I can tell you is make sure that you're asking questions that will lead them to asking you those same types of questions that you want answered, or you want to answer for them. So when you're thinking about questions, so, amazing coaches will ask great questions. So if you said, what do you do for a living? Or, I see that you're a health and nutrition coach, or I see you're a coach. What do you coach? What do you do? And so they're automatically want to talk about themselves first, and you can talk about how great that is. And then you can say, I happen to be a health and nutrition coach, but I also am a dental hygienist, or however you feel like you can say that, because you want to ask questions where they're going to try to ask the same thing that might open up the conversation to move into Beachbody somehow.
Asking questions is an art, so don't think that comes easy. It's something that takes time, and it takes a lot of practice. And you get good at it by practicing.
And another big tip, when you're answering them, so if they ask you, even if it's someone that you haven't talked to in a while, they might have no idea what you're doing. They might say, well, how have you been? What have you been doing? Where are you working? You always want to say, I'm great. The last thing you want to do is, with a prospect or someone who you just want to build a relationship with, or you in general, you don't want to sound negative about your life. Even if you're exhausted and tired, you can say, I'm great. I've been busy wedding planning, but everything is coming together. I'm so excited. I've also been working in a dental practice for the last couple years. And I've also been following my, bigger passion of helping people get fit and healthy as a coach. I highly recommend that you don't use the wording, and I'm a Beachbody coach, because it could send a red flag to them. You just never know if they had some sort of negative experience with Beachbody or another coach, or maybe they've sent their friends with a coach on Facebook who is spammy and inviting them to a million groups or posting stock images. And they're like, no, I don't want to be friends with this person. I don't want to talk to them anymore because they're going to do the same thing to me. So I try to avoid that. So after you've done that and you've explained what you do, usually the conversation will open into coach and health and fitness, obviously. So you'll just want to ask some more questions that will lead to the invite. So one of the best questions you can ask, no matter what they say, if you say, I'm also a health and fitness coach, they might say, that's great. And almost always they're going to say, I've been doing this. And you can ask more questions about that. Or you can just say, even if they said, oh, cool, you could still say, do you currently follow any types of workouts or diet plan? I mean, it's that easy to open up the conversation. And then you just want to listen to them, and if you can, relate to whatever they're telling you when answering those questions. So after you've kind of answered questions and questioned them, you can get to the actual invite. So usually that do you currently follow any types of workouts or diet plan will lead to you guys talking about health and fitness. And you can say, would you be interested in trying out one of my groups? When you do that, and those who have done this can probably agree, they usually will say, can you tell me more about it, or does it cost any money? I think does it cost any money might be everyone's number one question. Even when you post a call out on Facebook, a picture and invitation to a group, they usually there'll always be someone down there that will say, does it cost any money? And my response to that, I've got it down here on the bottom, is always the same. So I always say, I can give you all the details and info and the cost, but first I'd have to figure out what I think is best for you. And honestly, sometimes what I'll say is that the price can range anywhere from free to $200. It just all depends on what you need. And I'm not going to just recommend anything. I make sure that I give you what you need. I would just have to ask some more questions. If they ask what it is, I usually, I'm not going to go through this, but I just like to touch on that it's a private support group. And I always like to say private support group instead of challenge group. I've noticed when I say challenge group in my wording, people get a little scared because it's a challenge. Like, okay, wait, I was just wanting to lose weight. Not so sure I want to be in a challenge. So you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. And I always say private because when I used to say it's a challenge group on Facebook, they'd be like, okay, now everybody I know is going to see I'm in a challenge group to lose weight. That's embarrassing. So I always make sure I say it's private. I also make sure I say it's online. So those little things can make a big difference because before when I wasn't saying online, people thought, well, I live in Canada. How am I going to come to your classes? And I'm like, okay, this is all online, guys. But they didn't know that from what I was saying in my post. So I had to explain it. And a huge tip is don't answer any questions they don't ask. That's one of our biggest faults as coaches is we want to give them all of the information because we're excited. You have to slow down and not vomit all over them with information because it's overwhelming. And if they don't ask, up here, if they don't ask, what is it or how much money does it cost? And instead they say, sure, then there's no need to explain it all. They're excited. Don't explain anything else. Don't talk about money. Don't do anything until they ask about it. So the next step would be when they say sure, you'll say, or maybe they say, I'm still interested. You want to get their goals and their why before you do anything else. Even if after talking to them a little bit, you have in your head that you think, this program or that program is going to be good for them. Do not recommend anything until you've gotten their goals, their actual goals, and their why. Because what's going to happen is they're going to be able to connect their goals, their why, to your program that you're recommending. So you can say, great, I would love to have you in the group. What are your current health and fitness goals? What do you struggle with the most? And that kind of opens up the conversation to figure out, is it nutrition? Is it the workouts? Is it time? What is your biggest struggle? And you always want to try to relate to whatever they tell you. So we always like to use the I feel, I felt, I found method. Don't try to give facts and figures. People don't relate to that. They relate to your story. So if somebody says, I really want to stop overeating. I feel like I never know what to make. I'm so confused by all the diets out there. I've yo-yoed all over the place. I just want to get down to a size 6 again. So you could say, I totally understand. That's exactly how I felt before I started my journey. And I was actually 20 pounds heavier then, and I was yo-yoing all over the place. But I found that when I followed a simple container system, I don't mention the 21-day fix. I don't mention the program. I insert my story. But when I followed that system, I realized how easy it was to really stay on track and not overeat, and pair that with the amazing workouts, and it was great. And then you can say, I would love to help you reach that goal because I've been there. So I found. So what I found was this, if that makes sense. So then I always like to say, if you don't get to their why yet, I always like to start with their goals first, because it's a little bit, if they answer me with their goals, I know they're pretty serious. And if I can see how much they're going to open up to me in their goals, usually too. But then whenever they give me their goals, I want to get their why, that deep why. So I usually just send this exact message and I say, why do you want to accomplish the goals you mentioned? That deep why that almost makes you cry, not just because you want to look good, deeper than that. And it's so imperative that you guys get this deep why, because the things that they will tell you, once they've opened up about that, there's no way they're going to say no to whatever you offer. And if they do, it's because they just weren't ready. When they open up, like really open up, you will hear things that will make you cry. And I constantly get this, and it makes you feel good about what we do. And it makes you really invested, and it makes you care about them as a person and really figuring out how you can help them no matter what. And that's what the magic is about this company. I feel like you're getting ready to say something.
Oh yeah, well, one thing I would add is you always want to be thinking that you want to lead with the solution and not the product. The difference between 95% of the coaches that I see and the 5% that are actually succeeding are the ones that lead with the solution. And when you lead with the solution, you're not always trying to find out whatever they're saying so that you can think of what challenge pack to get them so that you can get Success Club points. If you lead with the solution, then they trust you and they know that maybe the recommendation is not a challenge pack. They need to know, they need to feel comfortable, and they need to know that you've got them, that whatever they're ready for, that you have them, and that you're going to guide them along the way. And when you do that, then you're going to get trust. When I ask them questions about their why, I ask them ahead of time, would it be okay if I ask you a couple questions so that I can really find out some of your deeper motivations? I always ask permission, and that almost lets them open up a little bit more.
And we're actually getting ready to tap into that here in just a second. So like he was saying, you want to be a professional question asker. Earlier he was talking about, and that shows that you care and you truly want to help them. But it also helps you decide which program's best for them. One of the things that I see a lot with coaches is they, like he was saying, they lead with whatever program's on sale. So the challenge group post is all about the 21-day fix, which is great for those who have maybe heard about the 21-day fix, but it eliminates a lot of people who maybe the 21-day fix isn't good for them. Now, 90% of the population could benefit from the 21-day fix, but you never know if maybe they cannot lift weights, they have pain, they have knee issues, and here you are leading with a 21-day fix when they already saw a video of it and they're like, there's no way I can do that stuff on my knee, or I have a shoulder injury. You didn't ask enough questions to be able to give them the best program. So when you open up the conversation and somebody says they're interested, and say you posted about the 21-day fix, even if I post about the 21-day fix, I will still ask them, hey, can I ask you some more questions just to make sure that this program is actually a good fit for you? Because it's not always for everyone, and I want to make sure that you get the best program for you. That shows that you care. If you automatically say, it's a challenge group and we're all doing the 21-day fix and everyone's going to be following the same plan and you're going to be on Shakeology, this is how much it is, it's on sale this month, are you ready? They're going to run for the hills and they're going to feel sold. So when you're getting those objections, think about if that's what you're doing, because I did it, and that's what I saw happening, is a lot of good people were running away from me. So these are just some questions that you can ask to kind of get them moving along in the conversation. And these questions that I usually ask in my emails, because these almost always dispel any objections before we get there. So a lot of these, I just had someone today who said that they eat out 5 times a week. Before I've talked about any programs, before I've talked about Shakeology, the cost, or anything, I already know in my head it's going to be an easy way for me to sell them Shakeology, because just them eliminating the 5 eating out per week, they can afford it. So if I say that at the end of the conversation, if they had any objection, they're going to be like, oh yeah, you're right. Or I'm drinking 4 cups of coffee a day. So those are the reasons why I like asking all those questions, almost, getting to the point where you're asking too many questions. So the next thing that you want to do is reiterate their goals. So once you've asked them a lot of questions and you kind of told them, I really think I can help you. Can I ask you more questions? And so you get the answers to those questions. You've already got the wheels spinning in your head, what you think is going to be best for them. The first thing you want to do is reiterate their goals to them, because it's going to remind them why I'm doing this. Why am I talking to this strange person who's inviting me to a group? You want to reiterate their goals, but you also want to confidently say that you can help them reach that goal. So, this is what I usually say. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with me. I know it was hard, especially if they're telling you their deep why. I mean, there's times where I'm like, I relate to you, and I thank you so much for sharing that with me. And I tell them why getting to that deep why helped them. And then I like to say, would you like me to help you reach your goals? Like this, if this is a Facebook message, this is what I would do. Would you like me to help you reach your goals and provide my honest recommendations? And I usually in this message will just say, I'm very confident in what I can offer you as a coach, or I'm confident that I can help you reach those goals, just so that you are reiterating that to them. So when they say yes, if you say, can I provide my honest recommendations? I don't think anybody would say no to that. You can give them options. Now you should have, when they were answering questions, already had a couple programs pop into your head. It's not imperative that you know every single program as a new coach, but I do think it's really important for you to log into On Demand, check out what programs are available, and then you can go to the compared fitness programs. There's actually that in our Coach Online office where it compares the programs. So you can kind of get an idea of at least the most popular programs. You need to have at least 5 to 6 that you know well enough to kind of explain them if you had to. But here's the deal. You're going to be sending YouTube links. Don't think about how you're going to explain stuff. So what I'll usually say is, here are 2 programs that I recommend based on what you share with me. I never share more than 2 programs. And the reason for that, and I never ever send someone just a link to my shopping page and say, browse around and see what you might be interested in, because they want to have value in you. They want to know that you picked these programs for them for a reason. But then you want them to choose which one they can commit to. So the ones that I recommend the most right now are 21 Day Fix and Size. And it's amazing how many people who commented on my 21 Day Fix call outs who want size. So I'm really glad that I don't close that off to those people and say, no, or make them feel like it's just a 21 Day Fix group. So my groups, I let them do any program they want because I want them to do the program that's best for them. I don't want them to start a program they're not really too keen on and quit the second weekend because they're not interested in it. I want them to get the best results. So when you share those videos, like I said, I highly recommend don't ever try to explain a program. That is usually where coaches talk themselves out of selling a challenge pack or a program in general, or helping anybody, because we try to explain too much and it's confusing to them. Those videos are just really short. And so what I'll usually say, these are short videos, so I can hang around to see which one you are leaning towards. So that's a way to, what we would say, close. There's people who are like, well, I get to this part in the conversation and it seems like they just don't respond anymore. That's a way to keep them hanging on and telling them, hey, I'm going to be hanging out. Go ahead and watch these if you can. I'm not going to read all of this. Don't worry. And by the way, guys, I'm sending you these slides. They're going to be posted in the team page, so don't freak out. These are just my scripts. Once they choose, though, I will reiterate their goals, and I'll say why that program is good for them. And I like to bunch together, and even though this is a longer message, I think it's fine because I've never had any issues with it. But I like to bunch these together, the price of the program or the challenge pack and the Shakeology, because I want them to not only see the price of everything they get, but I want them to see the value in Shakeology. Now, some coaches at this point will say, did you want the Shakeology with it? And then they're like, what the heck is Shakeology? And then you try to explain it and backpedal. So I think it's better to say, it's great that this whole investment's only $160, and that includes everything and Shakeology. And then you can explain it any way you want, or just send a third-party tool a video of the Shakeology. That's completely up to you guys. And then at the very end, I always say this because I feel like it seals the deal. I say, pretty good deal, right? Do you have any other questions before we get you enrolled and get you started? And that's where they might say, well, how much is it if I don't get the Shakeology? I'll usually mention that they don't get the shipping for $2. And I always say, instead of how much it is, I usually say, well, it's actually the best deal that you can get, because with the challenge pack, you also get to be in my group. You also get the $20 free DVD, which they get that with the kit anyway, but I usually just mention it again. And I also like to say you get the $2 shipping, like I already said. But they always, if you're talking about, the savings on anything, you can just say, like, I don't like to put the dollar amounts. I'll just say, I always like to get a good deal, and this really is the best deal. I would hate to see you waste money on just the program, because you're going to end up spending a lot more on that than when you get it bundled together. And if they ask me more questions, I'll go ahead and address those.
So that's something that, like, over time, your wording will get better with that as the confidence in the complete solution, as it gets stronger in your mind. So you're not trying to sell anything. Like, what will give them the most results. So it's easy to have it feel like it's not natural. And you always just want to do what's comfortable for you. And
we'll talk more about follow-ups in the upcoming weeks as well. But one of the things that I will say almost automatically is I always recommend that all of my clients at least try Shakeology for a month. And if it gets to a point in the conversation where they're really on the fence, I will say, if you don't like it at all, or if you don't notice any changes, it's a money-back promise, even if you finish the entire bag. And some people don't like to say that, but I've noticed that when I do say it, people are more likely to at least try it out. But I always say, this is going to ensure your results, and I'm telling you that the people who get the best results are usually the ones on Shakeology in the group. And they usually have no issues with going ahead. Now, there are people who will be against it. I don't beg them to get the Shakeology. That's not something for me to do. But I still allow mine in the group. That's up to you if you want to keep somebody in your group who doesn't get Shakeology. I do, because when they get in the group and see everybody else doing Shakeology, then they ask about it again and they say, oh, I should have got it. Can I go ahead and get it? So, and then this is just talking about the cost again. If you wanted to break that up into certain steps, you could just send the first part up here that says, perfect, and then talk about the Shakeology. Or you could say, what's great is this includes Shakeology. Have you heard of it? And just open up the conversation. And then here's it, just the cost, because I wanted to put it on a separate slide. So after they say yes, you can offer them the VIP route. And so what this is basically a discount coach, but I do offer this to almost all of my clients because I would want it offered to me. So I usually say exactly what this says, and I'll say down here, I like to reiterate their goals again, and then I say the best part about this is that I can sign you up as a VIP customer, which means you get 25% off future orders. It's also great because if you have friends or family who are interested, you can help them get started and you can earn 25% from their orders. This naturally always happens when my clients start getting results. Everyone wants to know what you're doing. So instead of sending them to me, you should benefit. So being a VIP from the start is smart. Does that sound good? And usually they will say yes, and then they might ask some more questions, and you can explain kind of the discount route. And the way I do that is, again, I don't answer any questions they don't ask me. So if they don't ask, what do I do after the 30 days? I'm not going to sit there and say, you have a chance to cancel before the 30 days of your Shakeology HD, and we'll talk about it. There's no need to go into all of that because you'll cover it later once they're in your challenge group. Just try to just keep calm and not tell them everything unless they ask about it. And almost always they'll say, is this a coach sign up, or why is it asking for my social security number? And I'll say, well, you're actually signing up as a discount coach. Beachbody just doesn't have a distinguished way to decipher a coach and someone who is a discount coach. But don't worry, you don't have to coach anybody unless you want to in the future. This is basically just so you can get the same benefits that I do. And then if they ask about the $15.95 fee, I'll say it's just like a member's fee for Costco. Or if you ever went to a tanning salon and you had to pay a monthly membership fee to get the discounts, it's the same idea. It's just you paying kind of like a fee to be a discount coach. And then the close. This is so vital and so important. You know, when somebody is so excited, ready to go, don't let them in the conversation until they've committed to getting online right then and ordering. I just did this today and I said, you know, are you available right now to go ahead and get it? Because it's only going to take about 2 to 3 minutes, and I just want to make sure that I walk you through it and there's no issues. And I walked her through it. The sale was done in 3 minutes. So when you get to the end of the conversation and they say they're ready, don't say, okay, well, I'll send you a link tomorrow, or, you know, I'm going to send you the link, and when you purchase, just let me know. I think what you need to do is be very precise and say, do you have a few minutes to do it right now? If they say no, then ask. Don't be afraid to say, well, do you plan on ordering it tomorrow? Because I just want to make sure that I check in and everything goes through okay on my Coach Online office or my coach office. And I want to make sure that I look out and make sure you ordered it correctly and there's no issues. And so you just want to make sure that they know that you have their back on the order, but you want to know, okay, when is this going to happen? So you're not 2 weeks out from them saying they're purchasing and they still haven't done anything.
I always end if they don't purchase something, then I will give them 2 options of specific times, and I say, okay, well, I have 5 p.m. tomorrow or whatever to follow up. Which time would be good for you? Because if you don't create a specific time, you'll end up just chasing them. You have no idea if they're interested or not.
Mm-hmm. And just always end with a question. You know, it's when you're having any type of conversation with them about everything, just always make sure you're ending with a question, because if you don't end with a question, it's closed. They could never write back, and they don't really feel like they need to because you didn't ask them anything. So here's just a few tips. You always want to lead with their goals and not yours. So if you're at the end of the month and it's the night before, the end of the month, and you need Success Club 5, don't push someone or rush through the conversation, and lead with your goals and not theirs. The same thing with leading with the program that you love and not maybe something that they could fall in love with, because it's much more important for them to find something that they love and they're going to do and get amazing results from than for you to only offer one program because that's all you're familiar with. I did that in the past. I was like, only 21-day fix for everybody, and that's the only groups I'm going to have. And that was a big mistake because I was missing out on a ton of people, especially with size right now. I mean, that's such a huge population, and putting those 2 groups together is just amazing. Same thing with, the women who want to lift more weights. Don't be afraid to, explore Body Beast or P90X3 and PIO, and make sure that you offer those, offer any solution to them, because at the end of the day, our goal is to get them the best results. And we know that if we give them the best solution in our minds, then that's what's going to get them, the best results. Again, dig deep. Send third-party tools. Third-party tools are videos. Don't try to explain everything. Now, in my conversations, I explain Shakeology just because I don't really like any of the videos that much. But Jason, I'm sure you send the videos all the time.
Yeah.
I just don't like sending them, but I would. It's not that I wouldn't. I like Tony Horton's. I would maybe send that one just to explain what Shakeology is. But the biggest thing is getting to their emotional why. If you're not getting to their why, their deep why of wanting to change, then it's going to be hard for you to, quote unquote, convince them to do anything, because they're not connected to it. So that's where you're going to get the price objections. That's where you're going to get people who say, I just don't think this is good for me right now. Because those are the people who didn't connect really emotionally to why they're doing it. And people's lives are busy. They're not constantly thinking about their deep why of why they want to get fit and healthy. But when you ask them and you dig deeper, the only question you need to say, or the statement, when they start talking about their why, and you think it can go a little bit more deep, I say, can you tell me more about that? So if they say, I really just want to feel sexier in my clothes with my husband again. Well, can you tell me more about that? Like, why do you want to feel more sexy? Just keep asking why over and over. And eventually you'll get to the point where it's deep and they're like, okay, I'm ready. Tell me what I got to do. And that's what you'll get. That's the message that you'll get from someone. And it's really important that you don't end the conversation there, by the way, because that's, you want to keep that going if you can. And by the way, this can all happen on the phone, guys. I just wanted to go through the whole conversation process and what I think, works best for everybody, including myself. And then always focus on the positives of what they tell you. So if they say, I've been doing this one program and I just lost 5 pounds and, I'm feeling a little bit discouraged, start with a positive and say, that's amazing. You've already lost 5 pounds. I'd love to help you get to your goal. What is your goal? And just really being positive in anything they say, especially with coaching. We just heard this the other day. When you start inviting for coaching, and somebody comes to you and they say, oh, well, I'm a waiter and I'm waitressing and I'm working these long hours, don't say, oh my gosh, that must really be tough. You could say, that's amazing that you're able to work that many hours and you enjoy doing it, right? Like, try to get that out of them, and they'll talk more about it. And we already talked about limiting the possibilities and always ending with a question. So now we can open it up for questions. I know that was a lot.
Let me turn the light on.
We look like we're in a horror film. And we have all of the scripts for you guys. If you have not seen them before, oh my gosh. Is that necessary?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
It's necessary.
So if anybody has any questions, we would love to answer them. I don't know how to turn this.
What do you want to?
Oh, just stop share. There we go.
Oh, yeah. You can do gallery again.
Oh, there. Yay. Okay. So does anybody have any questions? What do you guys usually say when...
you would have to unmute yourself if you have a question.
Yeah, that's true. What do you guys usually say when somebody asks you, what do you do as a coach? Like, say you're in conversation and they say, well, what is a coach? Is your response usually similar to what that was, or is it? Because I know some coaches will go with, well, have you ever heard of P90X or Insanity? That I represent those programs. And I think leading with that sometimes can be a turnoff to people as well. Because again, if they had any negative experiences in the past at all, or maybe they're like the majority of the population and tried Insanity or P90X and failed miserably, they might be like, oh yeah, tried that, not interested. So I try to keep it away from mentioning any programs or products with someone who I'm just having a conversation with.
It's interesting when you're trying to, when you get into network marketing, you have everybody kind of telling you about the things that people say about it, good, bad, or whatever. And then sometimes what ends up happening is in your mind, you end up trying to like dodge away from it. When what happens is you'll have like this mindset shift where all of a sudden you've got like extreme confidence. Like when I talk to people now, like I'm like, yeah, I'm a pediatric dentist and I'm a network marketing professional. I mean, when you realize like how amazing it feels, the people that you meet, the people's lives that you change. And then we happen to be part of a company, Team Beachbody, which creates the foundation for people's health. I mean, that's what's amazing about it. So when you have that confidence, yeah, you're going to have people that are going to be naysayers, but those are people, that's everybody else. That's why we're the 2%. That's why you guys are the 2%. That's the difference.
And if you don't have confidence in the coaching yet, it does take time. And like I said, it's going to take consistency. And once you've done it enough and you've hosted your first group and it could be a group that did amazing or did really bad, like my first group, you at least had some experience with it and you help one person. The reason why I love everybody starting with the people closest to them first, because those people are people, one, you care about, so you want them to be healthy and fit, but you can use their stories as testimonials. So I always was able to talk about how the first month that my mom was on Shakeology, she was able to go off of a diabetes medication that was $50. And so that was easy for me to talk to people about. But honestly, what it did is it gave me confidence in the products and program, because I didn't have a whole lot of confidence because I hadn't done it very long. So if that's your situation, try to find people around you to provide an honest testimony. Even if your best friend, try to have that happen so that you can feel confident in what we offer as well. Because even though I saw all the before and afters, I had to see somebody I knew do it before I started, talking about it. And then the other thing we were going to talk about too, as you know, your teams are growing. I know we have a lot of leaders on the call from our team. Something that Jason does that works really well, and you might want to do this with your new coaches, is having like a 3-way call with them and their prospect, especially with coaching. If they have somebody who's interested in coaching, I don't think it's good for a brand new coach to be trying to explain the ins and outs of coaching, just because it could really go all over the place. But if it's someone who is kind of on the border of brand new and not really sure how to recommend challenge packs yet, have a 3-way call. And or it doesn't have to be a call, it could be a message. Even on Facebook Message, you could add the people in there. And during that conversation at the very beginning, just saying, edifying that coach as much as possible, and just saying, you know, you are so lucky to have Jason as your coach, and aren't you so happy that you found his story and
his dog Fiona.
And his dog Fiona. And, you know, he's always been so positive in my groups, and I'm so ecstatic that he finally decided to sign up to coach, because he's an amazing person. I know he's going to do amazing things as a coach. And I'm just going to help you guys kind of figure out which program is best for you. So it doesn't make that coach feel like they're incompetent. It just makes them feel like, and the customer feel like, okay, they really care enough about me getting the best results that they are doing this together. And they also kind of think, okay, I not only get the support of this coach who I know, but I'm also going to get this whole community of people who are going to support me. So that can be something that you can do as well. Has anybody ever done that? I don't know if anybody, and you may have done it kind of in a nonchalant way, especially if you know, like I've done it kind of like by people reaching out to me, and I realized later that maybe one of my coaches was already their friend. So I go ahead and talk through them the process of challenge group and figuring out what's good for them. And then I say, you know what, I'm going to have so-and-so reach out to you and let them know what we talked about. And so then all my coach is doing is basically saying, hey, I know Brooke talked to you about 21-day fix. She said you're ready. And then showing that coach, this is what we said. This is how the conversation went, and this is where it led. And I've done that several times, even with people who signed up to coach. We just had someone last week. I was like, oh, this coach is on our team, and I had talked to her about coaching. So don't be afraid to do that, and don't just, especially if it's someone who's you have signed up, don't be afraid as a leader to help that new coach out and do that for them, because it's hard. It's difficult for them to, know all the information. And then on top of it, feel like, they're losing the conversations or not knowing what to say. Or the worst part is ending the conversation out of fear because they're not sure what they should be saying.
I think it's really important that I honestly think that at the beginning, onboarding a new coach is the most important thing that you can do. So I don't care whether a coach tells me that they're a go-getter and that they know that they are so ready and they've got this. It doesn't make a difference because I don't know what they're saying to their prospects and their coaches. And if it's not exactly what needs to be said, then their coach won't need to know what to say to their coach. So before you know it, you've got 3 coaches down the line and they can't duplicate what we do. And so it's really important that at first, because there's a lot of psychology in that. So if I'm brand new, to know that my sponsor has me covered, that the only thing that I'm really required to do is to be the best challenger possible, to believe in whatever product that we have, Shakeology, the challenge pack, and that to invite people to start sharing why I'm doing this. And when people ask me, very simply, what you want to do is say, you know what, that's a great question. I would love to have a conversation with my sponsor, Jason. And then she would say some nice things about me, about why I'm more of an authority than her, saying, listen, I'm brand new. I became a coach because of this, very honestly. And so immediately that person's like, oh, wow. Like, so you're brand new and you're a coach. And all right, so this person, we're getting them on the phone. They must really know what they're talking about. And so when I start talking to them and I ask them questions and I develop a relationship with them, and then I start talking about some amazing things about the person that sent us, in the last 3 days, we've had every time the prospect or the new coach has been very excited, and they know if they become a coach what to do also. And So
but they also see that there's a system among the team. So they could say, this person's brand new and they're not really knowing what to do. So I know if I sign up as a coach in the future, or say they finish the challenge group and they're thinking about being a coach, they'll go back to that and remember, well, they get their coaches started really, really right. And they'll have my back, because if I don't feel like right now I would know what to say to someone, they're going to help me out because they helped my coach out and now she's doing awesome. So does that make sense, kind of how you could do that?
Now there is work for a new coach or a new customer to do, and that's to create a list, and that's the invite. Their one job is to get people in front of me or get people in front of Brooke or whoever the sponsor is.
Okay. No questions? If you have any, you can either type them in or you might have to mute yourself or unmute yourself, sorry.
Nobody has any questions?
Dang it. Questions are the best. Any questions off of inviting and about other things?
Any problem?
Did anybody like my do not do this pictures? Those are great. The best thing to do as a new coach is to follow the coaches, what they're doing now, but what's really awesome is to go back and see what they did in the beginning, because it was usually really bad. So it goes from like 1 and 2 likes per post and then all the way to 100 likes a post, because you learn from your errors of what not to do. And I know a lot of people, we posted in the group, in our team page, in the photo section. So if you go to the photo albums, there's examples of challenge group callouts so that you can kind of get an idea of what to use. Keep in mind that some of those were last year, so that was before Facebook changed their settings. We were doing words all over the place on pictures and usually just posting words, and they were being seen. But then Facebook got all mean and changed it to where if you're doing those, they don't get seen or shown to people as much. Like, I think it's like 25% of your people are seeing it if there's a lot of words on it, because they think it's a sales post. So even when you're sharing memes or quotes, you might notice that it doesn't get as much viewing on it. On like pages, they tend to be okay with that, but not on your personal page. So just keep that in mind as well.
So I know I see Ed's on the call, one of our amazing dentists / coaches. Ed's from a very small town in Pictou, whatever you pronounce it, Nova Scotia. And Pictou. And what's great about Ed is that he, not only is he a genuine guy, and he loves really helping people, but he started like these fit clubs in the small town, helping all of these women, really, sometimes, and I guess a couple men, start to get in shape and just as a group start working out and exercising. So my question for you would be, coming from a really small town and like I'm reaching out to me like almost 2 years ago, do you remember like a transition of when you were able to, like all of a sudden, were people always very interested? Or do you feel like it was through posts, it was through live interactions? What do you think it was?
Personally, I think it was probably more starting the Fit Club that kind of got me doing anything at all.
And Colleen, you're doing a little fit club, right?
Yeah, next week I'm going to do 2 different fit clubs in my hometown too. My hometown is a small hometown as well. There's more cows than people in my hometown. But it's the dairy capital of the Maritime, so yeah, kind of. There's milk that comes from our town. Yeah. So my hometown, they're set in their ways, and if they don't know you, they don't trust you. So it's very word of mouth in my town. So I posted again today about this fit club, and I'm starting to get a lot more interaction on it. And I've got some girls in my challenge group right now that are from Sussex, so they're really starting to get a few more words going out there. So
that's awesome. Yeah,
see how it goes.
I'm excited to hear how it goes. And something to keep in mind for you guys who have like pages, like Kelly, if you're doing the fit clubs too, or you're promoting them, on your like page, you can do an ad to that hometown or the towns around it. about the Fit Club. So it'll reach all those people. It's really cool.
For some of you guys that are brand new, I know like Tracy and Ashley, a Fit Club is basically, it's just a group workout that you can get together and have people all work out, and you do a Beachbody workout together. So whether it's putting on a projector or really just putting on your laptop, and it's really, it could be a couple friends. You could do a call and say, hey, listen, we're inviting you to a workout, and then maybe you'll even have a blender and give out samples of Shakeology or whatever it is, and they call that.
Just put a blender in your purse.
Just put a couple of blenders in, no big deal. But that's what a Fit Club is.
Yeah. And I think it's something that's going to be up and coming. I think it's going to be something that a lot of us might want to look into, because a lot of people are trying. I think it's we love social media, but a lot of people hate social media. So they might be more inclined to want to meet people up in person when you can. And I feel like, Ed and them are a perfect example of this. When you're able to create that community, especially with a very small community, it spreads like wildfire, because everybody wants to come because it's something to do. And it's free. It's something for everybody to be involved in, and it becomes something that they want to be a part of. So, okay, guys, well, we will end the call. I hope this is helpful. We did record it. I will share the slides and the recording. And then also I'll put our scripts just in case nobody's seen those, and it breaks them up a little bit easier. But that's the process. So I hope that kind of, was everybody good on that? Was it too much? Was it okay? Okay. I hope that helps everybody kind of see the flow of a conversation so it can keep going. So happy conversating. Go message some people tonight. Bye, guys.